is a coursework degree that is available to any student by paying a fee, and basically you complete units or subjects, and then you do a 2-year program to get a master's. A lot of the master's programs, they have some kind of a research project at the end of it, but it's not a major component of that qualification. And a lot of times for a master's, there is no scholarship for students. So they pay the fee and they complete the 2-year program and they qualify, and that may make them suitable in terms of finding a job, or they may be able to apply for permanent residency, which is of interest to a lot of people, I understand. There are others who may want to get into research, and for them, the research master's option is available. So in Australia, research master's is usually a 1-year program where you do full-time research, after which you have the option of upgrading it to a PhD. And a lot of times students who do not have what's called a honors 1, which is our 80% or more in terms of the score, and those students can't directly get into a PhD program. So they have to go through a master's program. After 12 months, they can upgrade to a PhD. So those who do not want that upgrade, they can continue with their master's program, and they qualify with a research master's after 2 years. So the volume of work that is involved in a research master's compared to a PhD program is much smaller. So in terms of the scope of the work, the depth, etc., will be at a much smaller scale compared to that of a PhD program. In terms of career goals, I think this is another important question that people want to ask themselves. Why do I want to do a research higher degree? Is it because the qualification, like the doctor title, does it sound better than, Mr. or Mrs.? That may be the reason. I mean, some people do it for the qualification or the title. Some people may want to get into academia. I mean, a lot of institutions, as you know, these days, you can't get into a teaching job or an academic job without having a PhD. So career goals are important when you make the decision in terms of master's versus research master's versus a PhD program. Another important question to consider is, where do you want to do it? Most people end up doing affiliated to a university. You may be able to work with someone who works in a department, and under the supervision, you can do it. You can work with someone in the industry, still affiliated to a university, but most of the time you'll be spending time in the labs of an industrial organization. You can work with a policy organization like World Health Organization, for example. So there are different options when it comes to where exactly you can do it. Another important question is, do we have to go abroad? A lot of the research that we do in India is world class, so there is no real need to go abroad unless you have that passion to go abroad, or you want to move, like migrate somewhere else. Otherwise, I think the opportunities you have in India, there are some leading pharmacy institutions in India, there are some great research organizations as well. So think about whether you have to really go abroad to gain those skills. And in terms of going abroad, again, there are different options. Some of the options are easier than some of the others. So United States, a lot of European countries, United Kingdom, Australia, some people consider countries like Singapore, Malaysia. So there are different options in terms of where you can actually do it overseas. Another question that you may want to consider is when. A lot of people take a bit of time. They want to go and work for a little while, and then once they see that to progress further in their career, they need a higher qualification, or the skills that they require to complete certain tasks, they need to get further training in research. And that's probably the time they want to think about a research master's or a PhD. So again, think about at what stage you are ready to undertake a research program. You don't have to do it straight away. Don't think that if you don't do it straight away, you're never going to do it. A lot of people, from my own personal experience, I can tell you, a bit of work experience before you embark a PhD journey will be actually good, because the life experience matters, and also the clinical skills. that you develop working as a pharmacist will be quite useful before you start your PhD journey. Sometimes that maturity that you bring when you start a PhD program can make a huge difference in terms of how long it takes for you to actually finish the program. Another question that you want to consider is, am I competitive as it is if you apply straight after an undergraduate or a Pharm.D program? Internationally, I'll talk about some of the requirements for applying for a scholarship. There are high expectations in terms of publications. So if you apply straight away, unless you are willing to pay the fee, you may not be competitive enough to get a scholarship. So that's an important consideration as well. And when you choose your supervisors, I had this advice from my former head of department at Monash that always play with the A team rather than the B team. But at the end of the day, you know where you stand in terms of your qualifications and your eligibility. In Australia, we have what's called Group of 8 universities, and we'll talk about rankings of different schools of pharmacy across the globe, including Monash University. So sometimes it is always good to aim for the top university, but you may not be successful unless you are prepared to wait and unless you want to have multiple attempts. You can always choose a smaller or a tier 2 university. There's nothing wrong with that. And another important question is what topic to choose, because after Pharm.D program, I think Sister mentioned earlier that there are some very clear opportunities for pharmacists, but I'll talk about some of the areas that you may not have considered, and that's gaining importance at a global sort of level. Some of them due to the pandemic, but some of them due to other factors as well. And if you're rich enough and if you want to get an international qualification, you can always think about, going as a full fee paying student. So how much to spend may be another question that you want to ask yourself. So what is a PhD? I think a lot of people go into a PhD program without fully understanding what it is. I can tell you straight away that a PhD is not for everybody. It is for those people who want to think outside the box, who want to be motivated, self-directed. As a PhD supervisor, the last thing I want to see is someone knocking on my door every day morning and asking, what should I do today? Or what should I do this week? We want people to be motivated, self-directed, and those are important qualities of a PhD student. And also you should be able to communicate very well, both written communication as well as spoken. Um, I think it is important in a clinical context, but even more important in a research context. And also, you should be able to work in teams. You should be able to work with minimal supervision. So those are some of the qualities that we would expect in a PhD student. Think about the duration of the program. So you can decide to go for half-time or full-time PhD. Please remember, as an international student, you can only do a full-time PhD, and only full-time PhD is eligible for a scholarship, even for the local students. So the fraction of your PhD program, whether it's 0.5 or 1 full-time equivalent, is important when it comes to scholarship, and also depending on whether you are a local or international student. And these days at Monash University and a lot of major universities, students don't go for a traditional thesis, because in the past people used to write these thick books that you can see, people keeping in their shelves. But these days it's pretty much, a very small book that people produce, and it is because we go for thesis by publication. Universities have some expectations. There are no fixed number of papers that you have to get from a PhD, but for a usual PhD which lasts for 3 years plus, we want people to finish as close as 3 years full time, and part time will be the double amount, so 6 years. That's the recommended duration. People may take slightly longer. So most PhDs, I would say, will take between 3 and 4 years, but definitely not more than 3.5 years these days, because there is great pressure on supervisors and the departments to finish PhDs in a timely fashion. Another thing to remember is transformation. PhD is a program where you want a student starting as a as a as a person who wants to develop skills in research, And at the end of the program, they should be able to drive their own program with minimal supervision and minimal input. Many people go and do a postdoctoral fellowship after a PhD. And at that point, a lot of the ideas are generated by the student themselves, and they get support from a supervisor. But it is almost like driving a car where you have someone with you all the time, and then you become a learner driver, and then you start driving yourself. So that's the kind of approach that we use in PhD as well. In terms of opportunities, there are plenty of opportunities for someone with a research higher degree. So academia is definitely one of the top opportunities or options when it comes to post PhD research jobs. Industry has got lots of opportunities. As Sister mentioned earlier, medical science liaison officers or people working in MSLs, as MSLs, they often have a PhD background, and a lot of them have worked in research before they actually get that industry job. There are opportunities in governments, in policy making organizations. I mentioned WHO, but there could be plenty of others who are making policies with regards to healthcare. It could be regarding pharmacy, etc. Consulting is an option. There are people who do full-time consulting, but I think to get there, you have to prove yourself, you have to gain experience, and if you have some specific skills, people may come to you asking for your time and service. So that's probably something that's not going to happen straight after a PhD, but maybe in the longer term. And remember, knowledge translation is another opportunity. So for example, organizations like Cochrane or people who produce guidelines, they want people who have that research training and background who can actually help produce some of those documents or guidelines. So that's again another opportunity that people may have after having a PhD. Some of the areas of research, I think there are traditional areas of research for pharmacists. So starting with pharmaceutics, pharmaceutical chemistry. In India, we have pharmacognosy or natural products. There are chemistry, analytical chemistry, and pharmacy practice related. So all those are sort of straightforward opportunities after complete, or pharmacology, I forgot to mention. So all those are the traditional areas of research that pharmacists can go into even after a Pharm.D program or pharmacy master's programs, etc. Think about some of the other opportunities that are related but not directly related to pharmacy, but these are areas that are emerging or becoming more popular even for pharmacy graduates. So health economics. I currently supervise a student who actually has a MBBS from Kerala. He did a master's um, in he is MD in pharmacology from JIPMA, and then he's currently doing his PhD focusing on health economics, but he's part of a larger team where I'm the principal investigator looking at a dementia prevention trial. So think about opportunities outside your direct interests, but these are areas where there is currently a shortage of people with that expertise, and maybe you can do maybe a short course in health economics, which will make you really competitive when it comes to applying for a PhD program in that area. And once you have that additional qualification, I think you will have lots of opportunities. So something to consider, because a lot of pharmaceutical companies, they are looking for people with that kind of expertise when it comes to submissions to the regulatory bodies for proving cost effectiveness of their product. Public health and epidemiology, as we are currently living in this pandemic situation, I think there is a lot of demand for epidemiologists. And I've heard at Monash University that our Masters in Public Health program has been more popular than ever because there is very clear opportunities for people with public health training and background. Another opportunity that you can consider is doing a master's in public health. It is very common in the US that many of the doctors, after doing the MD, they go and do a master's in public health because they don't have to really do a doctoral degree. They can get it from great institutions like the Harvard, and that will make them really competitive when it comes to some senior policy roles. So MPH or Masters in Public Health is another where you can gain some research skills. And think about newer areas like artificial intelligence and machine learning. And this is, again, gaining a lot of momentum these days because there are data that are generated, sometimes not utilized well. So think about how you can use some of that large data or big data to produce useful information or influence future practices or policies. So it's a good source of information which traditionally people haven't used much, but think about opportunities in that space. Telehealth, I mean, at the moment, what we are doing is, maybe tele-education, but think about using that in a healthcare context and doing some research around that. Nanotechnology, statistics, all these are additional options for people. I mean, statistics is part of most of the research programs that we do because there will be analysis that requires some statistical skills. But there are people with proper statistics, biostatistics skills, and they are in great demand because very good statisticians are not that commonly available. They are expensive, and there are opportunities in that space as well. In terms of applying for a scholarship, and as I mentioned, I am the graduate coordinator and I sit on the faculty's ranking for students from both within Australia as well as international students. And based on what I have seen over these years, I can clearly say if you don't have first order papers, ideally 2 to 3 papers, first order papers in international journals, if you don't have that, you are not competitive because there are students from countries such as Pakistan who are coming with that kind of, a CV where they have plenty of papers. We sometimes think, how do they get all that in a short time period? But they are probably strategic how they do it. But I will come to that in a later slide. So make sure what you do is of good quality. So quantity is important, but quality is even more important. And where possible, try to publish it in international journals. And I mentioned research papers. A lot of people publish what's called a narrative review, which is not as good as a systematic review. A systematic review is definitely of greater value than just a narrative review or a perspective. A research paper which involves data collection. It may be a simple survey, but that is definitely better than doing a narrative review, which doesn't really add much when it comes to ranking that we do when students come with multiple papers, first order papers and research papers. They get definitely a higher weighting than just a narrative review or a perspective. Further experience in research, that is always regarded highly. So if you have worked under the supervision of someone, you've been part of some publications, and you've developed some research skills, and if you come to us with that, that definitely is preferred than someone with zero research experience. Special skills, if there are some special skills, for example, you are able to use certain software um, in certain areas. If you're very good with statistics, all those things will definitely give you some points, and that may be enough for you to be ranked higher than someone else, and that may even win a scholarship for you. And think about awards and prizes. It may be that you got top mark in a particular unit or subject, so you can mention that. And we want evidence for everything, so it's better to get a certificate or something in writing from the principal or your mentor or your teacher. I think things like that also carry some weighting. If you get prizes at a state level, national level, even better. But even smaller things sometimes we don't take into consideration are important when it comes to ranking, and could make the difference when you have two people who are sort of ranked very close to each other. Competency in English, very, very important. We place a lot of emphasis on the IELTS scores, especially for writing and speaking. Those are two aspects that are very important because writing is an important skill for a researcher. And good referee reports. And we want those reports coming from someone who is like a senior person, not someone too junior or someone too close to you. It's better that you have from maybe the head of the institution or the head of department, so senior members of staff. So always make sure that you maintain good relationships with your your teachers, because it is expected that you provide some references from your academic supervisors or your teachers at the university or the college. Some common mistakes that we have observed all these years, I've seen some students not being very careful when they send email requests to staff asking to be supervisors, addressed with the wrong title sometimes, or sometimes the wrong name. So they probably cut and paste information and put into an email, and it's very clear. Sometimes you don't think when you cut and paste and the email goes out, you can clearly see the difference in the font sizes. So things like that clearly show that you're not serious about it, or you are, just going on a fishing trip where you're happy to catch anything. So you don't have any real goals or objectives. So I don't think that'll give a good impression of you. So it's important that you spend a bit of time, decide who you want to approach. And big universities, good universities, we have systems in place where there's a graduate coordinator who looks at all the requests from various students, and we discuss. I mean, people may be thinking, supervisors are competing with each other. There is competition, in every field and everywhere, but it's all done in a transparent way where we kind of discuss with each other, and we can see, we say, oh, I got this. I'm sure you would have got the same as well. And then, we think who is most appropriate person, depending on whether the student actually meets the requirements. Um, and sometimes, we get just one email, and you're probably busy and you think, oh, I'll respond to that later, and you get busy with something else and you forget. So sometimes if you don't hear from a supervisor, a prospective supervisor, don't be disheartened. Just send another polite email and they may respond. So I'm not saying you should send a reminder every day, but give them a week or two, and then if they are not still responding, you can always send them a polite, a gentle reminder. And in terms of the universities, as I said, depending on how competitive you are, you can go for one university or multiple universities. Nothing wrong with that. Or you may want to go for tier 1, tier 2 universities, depending on how they rank you against other applicants in that round. And sometimes we get CVs with a lot of personal information. I don't think you have to provide date of birth. Nobody's interested. They would like to know when you graduated, etc. But don't include things like date of birth, etc. Because that is confidential information. You don't have to share with anybody. And too early or not ready. Sometimes you see applications from students who just graduated, don't have enough papers, don't have much experience. Maybe consider a master's rather than a PhD program. And some people think, oh, I can't get into pharmacy, clinical practice or community practice. So let's think about PhD as an option. Usually it's harder to get into a good research program compared to just continuing with your practice job. Permanent residency as the main goal. There's nothing wrong in getting permanent residency at the end, but don't put that as the main priority. I think focus on the research, the importance of gaining skills, etc., ahead of your interest in terms of getting migrated. I think I have to go slightly quickly. I know that I'm taking a bit longer than I should have. So in Australia, if you're applying, these are some of the national health priority areas, and there's usually more funding for these areas because these are areas where the health burden is and the government is interested in investing more money. And I think for the interest of pharmacists in 2019, quality and safe use of medicines was put forward as a national health priority area. And in the near future, we have some funding in that space as well. So just very quickly about Monash University. So we are in Melbourne, and that's the tallest building in Melbourne, the Eureka Towers. You're probably familiar with those places, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, as well as the AAMI Park, where the Australian Open happens. And that's the landmark of Melbourne, which is the Flinders Station, and you see the trams running up and down quite often in Melbourne. And that is Royal Parade, and that is 381 Royal Parade, which is the address of Monash University's Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. At the moment, we are ranked number 2 in the world, just behind Oxford University, who don't have a pharmacy program, they have a pharmacology program, and number 3 is Harvard University. So in other words, we are number 1 in the world in terms of a pharmacy program. So it's quite competitive to get into Monash University. Those are some of the pictures from undergraduate labs or their tutorials or their workshops. That's not me, by the way. It's another lecturer who looks very similar to me. He's of Italian descent. And some of the research areas within MIPS, which is Monash Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. So we have the traditional areas, drug delivery, disposition, and dynamics, which is similar to the pharmaceutics program, drug discovery and biology, which is the pharmacology program, drug candidate optimization, similar to pharmaceutics, but these people have a lot of industry funding, medicinal chemistry, and medicine use and safety, which is basically the pharmacy practice departments that we have in India. Some of the research that we do within the Center for Medicine Use and Safety are pharmacoepidemiology, pharmacometrics, which is PK/PD or pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, pharmacotherapy in a lot of settings, including primary care, secondary care, and tertiary care, which includes clinical pharmacy research programs, health services research, which is basically what I do, and project pharmacist is one of the research programs that we have in the policy space. Monash doctoral program is what we offer these days, where in addition to just doing the research, there are a lot of other programs or activities that are embedded into that program, where our aim is to develop skills in the individual. So this is offered in various areas such as cancer, antibiotic resistance, malaria, dementia prevention or dementia management, neglected diseases. And students joining the doctoral program, they have rotations in different lab groups, so that way they get exposed to different research methods and research programs. Interdisciplinary research is the nature of the research that we do as part of the doctoral program. And we also have partnerships with international partners such as the University College London and the University of North Carolina, which is called the Pharm Alliance. So Monash, UCL, and UNC. We are Pharm Alliance partners. And we also have alliance with the Warwick University in the UK. So there are some big partnerships across the globe that Monash University have, and you can be part of that if you get selected into that. Conferences, media training, all that are part of training for PhD students in our faculty. And just for your information, that's the minimum requirement in terms of English language. So aim for higher scores in speaking as well as writing, but nothing less than ideally 7. So we want speaking and writing scores of 7 or more. For IELTS, if you go for some of the other tests, again, what's given there, it's a minimum requirement. In terms of scholarship application dates, so we have multiple rounds every year. And I've mentioned the dates when they open and when they close for the different rounds per year. And there are a couple of international rounds every year. And PhD is all about teamwork. And those are some of the pictures from some of the celebrations or some of the meetings that we've had with my PhD students. So it's teamwork, it's being part of the team, and learning how to become an independent researcher. But along the way, you learn, a lot of people skills, project management skills, people management, etc. So on that note, I'll stop there, and I'll be very happy to take any questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very informative, as usual. I'm a huge fan of
Thank you.
yours, sir.
Thank you.
Sugamala, sir.
So I
Okay.
know you've moved from Amrita.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember.
yeah. Right, sir. So nice of you. Now, I was just seeing whether in the chat box there are any questions. So I think it's dead clear that they have no questions. So, sir, are you free? Will you take someone as your student?
I'm happy to take students who have the right skills and qualifications, as I said. I mean, it's a very transparent process, and we can look into how we can join collaborative research, etc. But usually we get a lot of high quality applications from students in South Asia, Southeast Asia, especially countries like Pakistan. I don't know how they manage, but a lot of them, they have good papers in international journals. They do a lot of hospital audits. They do some surveys in community pharmacy, etc. So they come with all that, and it's not easy to just ignore all that and then give admission to someone. I mean, we look at the undergraduate scores, so that's important, undergraduate marks, but
Right.
we give more emphasis to publications, especially international publications.
Right. Are they Pharm.D students? Because most of our audience are Pharm.D students.
I think Pharm.D is probably a concept that is gaining momentum in Asia. In Australia, we
Right.
still have a Bachelor of Pharmacy. That's the minimum requirement to become a registered pharmacist. Monash, we have started what's called a vertical integrated masters, where they do 4 years of training and they get a Bachelor of Pharmacy. They can do one more year of training as part of the internship, and then they get a master's. So we are the first in Australia to start that, but every other university, they have what's called a Bachelor of Pharmacy.
Right. Okay, sir. So thank you very much, sir. Happy
Thank you
Teachers
very
Day,
much.
by the way.
Thanks. Same to you. Thanks
Thank
everybody
you.
for having me. Appreciate the opportunity, and yeah, I really look forward to coming back and seeing you all face to face one day. Hopefully,
Yes, sir.
sometime next year.
Right, right, sir. So on
And
behalf of the
I have to apologize that I can't stay because it's 10:30 here at night, and my wife has already called me a couple of times.
okay,
So
okay, sir. Good night,
sorry.
good night, good night,
Thank you
good
very
night,
much.
good night, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. See ya.
Okay, okay. Now over to Jenny, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Next, I request Mrs. Manju Nair, Associate Professor, Department of Pharmacognosy, to introduce the next speaker. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening to all. Our next speaker is Dr. Parvati Verma, who will speak on the topic Job Opportunities in Regulatory Affairs after Pharm.D. Dr. Parvati completed B Pharmacy from Swami Vivekananda College of Pharmacy, Erode, Tamil Nadu in 2008. Later, she pursued MS in Pharmacology at St. John's University in New York. After Masters, she joined Johnson & Johnson in their Regulatory Operations Division. At the same time, she completed her Pharm.D from Nova Southeastern University in 2019. After Pharm.D, she completed her fellowship from AstraZeneca, where she was a postdoctoral Global Regulatory Labeling Strategy Fellow in the renowned Rutgers Pharmaceutical Industry Fellowship Program, which is one of the top-ranked pharmaceutical industry fellowships in the world. Currently, Dr. Parvati Verma is working as a manager in regulatory affairs in Gilead Sciences. On behalf of St. Joseph College of Pharmacy, I welcome you, madam, to take over the webinar session. Over to you, madam.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you can hear me.
Okay, awesome. You took me a little bit by surprise. I thought I was going third, but anyways, I can go next. That's fine. So yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me as a speaker, and thank you to Sister Betty Carla and Sister Daisy Agustin and all the staff and faculty of St. Joseph College of Pharmacy. And I guess I need to mention name Dr. Saumia, because she was the one who actually reached out to me and asked if I could do this presentation. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you once again, everyone. It's literally amazing to see the growth of pharmacy and the plethora of opportunities that is available to the students right now. Probably it was not the case when we were graduating a couple of years ago. So it is amazing to really see how the industry, pharmacy, and the whole pharmaceutical industry as such, how it has changed. So in that aspect, I'm a little jealous to you guys. So let me start it this way. Definitely look into the opportunities that you have available in India and definitely try to grow on it. But also I feel like the objective of these sort of webinars and presentations is for you to have that awareness regarding what else is out there, like both globally as well as, what else other than the traditional pharmacy options of being a retail and clinic. I mean, it's great, right? Being a retail pharmacist or a clinical pharmacist is great, but it's always good to know what else is out there. So definitely take use of these webinars, and thus you can make informed choices. And towards that, my presentation is like a very high level overview of opportunities that is available in US for pharmacy graduates. So after listening to Dr. Johnson, George, I feel like there might be slight overlap in some of the slides, because I have tried to present what are like in general, what are the opportunities, both from a research aspect, as well as an industry aspect, and also from practicing pharmacist aspect. So I will try to go faster through those slides if you feel there is an overlap. And but yeah, you will generally find that in my presentation, I have tied up all of this together from more like a US context. So please bear with me as I put up my slides here. Can you see my screen? Yes, you can see my screen, right? Okay. How do I hide this? Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, this is about the opportunities for pharmacy graduates in USA. I don't think we need to go again about the About Me section, because thank you so much for the wonderful introduction initially. So I think you guys know. But yeah, I'm also from Alleppey. So it is a special privilege to be talking to you guys today. And then after that, I moved to the US to do my master's. So my route was a little different from you guys, because I did my B Pharmacy and then went ahead and did my master's. And while I was working after my master's in Johnson & Johnson regulatory, I thought like there is so much more that I can do with a Pharm.D. So while I was working full-time, I enrolled in a pharmacy college for Pharm.D, that is Nova Southeastern University. And I have not regretted that decision, because having a Pharm.D actually opens up a lot more opportunities to you. And so yeah, just give a pat on your back for selecting this career option. Okay. So whenever I give these webinars, it's never complete without my little memes. So yeah, I mean, you will always see this one here, like pharmacy team, let's do this. So I know you have been going through a lot of online classes, and it can be a little fatigued at times. So little memes like this help. And contradictory to the popular belief, pharmacist does not simply put pills in a bottle, right? I mean, there is a lot more that we can do other than counting pills and dispensing in a pharmacy. So let's keep moving here. I know I have like 20 minutes to talk and then 10 minutes for questions. So keep moving here, right? So as I have tried to divide this into two options. So option one, as Dr. Johnson was mentioning, it is very similar, taking a research path. And let me stress on this, because recently there is a lot of demand for people with dual degrees, like terminal degrees, like Pharm.D, PhD, like a combination. There is a lot more demand for that, especially in a place where I'm working, like a pharmaceutical industry. So keep that in your mind, that doing a MS PhD after Pharm.D can be amazingly rewarding to your career. So And I also recollect how Dr. Johnson was mentioning it might be harder to get directly into a PhD program. And I completely agree on that, because it is very true. Personally, from my experience, and I do not shy away from sharing this. While I was applying to universities after my B Pharmacy, right, I had applied directly to a lot of PhD programs. At least I applied to 10 different universities. And unfortunately, I did not get into any of those. But as a backup, I had already applied. I had also applied to 3 master's program, and I got into all 3 of those. So there is a lot more competition when you directly apply to PhD program. So that said, if you can apply to a master's program, usually if you are good in research and if you are able to show that, able to showcase that, then the advisors here are kind of willing to let you convert into a PhD after a 1 or 2 semesters. So always keep that in mind when you're applying, if you're applying for a research kind of a option, right? So you can apply to a master's program or directly to PhD program, but definitely weigh in that pros and cons. And I will also talk a little bit about the post Pharm.D options in the coming slides. So just briefly touching on how you can apply for graduate studies in the US, be it a master's or PhD. It's kind of similar, like the application process is kind of similar, and I have mentioned the different available options here. All these options that I have mentioned as masters, the PhD options are also available. And specifically, I want to mention about masters in public health, otherwise called as MPH. So Pharm.D MPH is again highly sought after. So just keep that in mind. And most of the universities here offer a master's in public health. So having that dual degree like Pharm.D and MPH gives you a upper hand in a lot of jobs like government sector and even in pharma industries. And other options are pharmacology, pharmaceutic. Definitely keep the master's in regulatory sciences in your mind, because regulatory is getting a lot of attraction these days in the pharmaceutical industry. Like a lot of Pharm.Ds are joining in regulatory affairs in pharmaceutical industry. And another option is MS in pharmacy administration. So all these are ways by which, you know, if you are really passionate to come and pursue your career in the US, all these would be a good gateway for you. So, so these are some of the application requirements, as I was saying. So, I mean, I know you are not used to seeing this like the GPA system. So in US, it is usually, it's called as grade point average, and it's not in percentages. It's calculated as a grade point average of 4 point. So anything about 3, and there are so many different services that's available in India that will let you convert your percentage into that grade point averages. So anything about 3 is considered okay to apply, and some highly ranked schools definitely have higher requirements because of more competition, obviously. So they will ask for more than 3.5. And then another requirement is GRE, otherwise called as the graduate record examination. So again, like if you are interested in pursuing these, definitely start early, because a lot of these exams are, you know, a little bit on the harder side of spectrum rather than being easier. So if you are interested in pursuing, definitely start early. There is like English, like a verbal section and a quantitative section. So there is both English and math. So yeah, starting early definitely help. And other requirement is either a TOEFL or IELTS to show your proficiency in English. And then similar to any other program, right, you would need recommendation letters. So try building that relation with your professors, because they will then give you the recommendation letters. Maybe, you know, take up research in labs if you can. So, you know, you will have solid recommendation letters. And then statement of purpose and resume and your CV and cover letter. And by cover letter, I mean, usually all the universities require you to write like a one-pager, like a little essay saying why you want to do this, what is your aspirations, or what are you planning to do with this, or why would you be a good candidate for this? So something like that. So all these are the application requirements for graduate studies. And this is a little table I made. I don't know if it would be helpful, but again, like as I was saying, these are the different examinations, GRE and TOEFL. Oh, and as well, if you want to note this down, you can keep it, because WES evaluation, that is the service that helps you to convert your percentage score into that GPA score. So this is a mandatory requirement if you're applying to any of the universities in US, because they would ask you to send that WES evaluation. If I'm not wrong, I think it's World Education Service or something. Anyways, but yeah, those people, they will take your percentages and convert it into GPA. And then, as I was saying, GRE, that consists of verbal section and a quantitative section, 170 questions each, and then an analytical section. Again, these are the textbooks that helps you to prepare for these exams. So feel free to note those names. It's like Princeton Review, Kaplan, Barron's, all these are those famous go-to textbooks that will certainly help you while preparing these exams. When to start preparing, as I said, start early. There is definitely nothing wrong in that. I know like Pharm.D curriculum is really hard, so try to balance that timing. And then in TOEFL, there is 4 different sections: reading, listening, speaking, writing. So I will tell you a tip. When I was preparing as a student, so I would usually, you know, like team up with similar friends with similar interests, right? Then you can prepare together, you can talk to each other in that kind of a mode, like you can speak each other and kind of evaluate, and that's how you get a better, you know, get an upper hand, right? And usually the number of recommendation letters is 3. I gave you a little bit explanation about the SOP, the CV, and all that, right? Okay, so again, similar to my previous speaker, I have similar things here to explore you too in US. The career opportunities after Pharm.D is usually like in pharmaceutical industry and, you know, like biotechnological companies. Then academics, definitely like Pharm.D, PhD are like highly sought after as lecturers or, you know, as researchers and faculty in academia for sure. And then health agency or government, by that I mean like, you know, national laboratories and governmental organizations like USFDA, the Food and Drug Administration, NIH, which is the National Institute of Health, US Pharmacopoeia, all these places, they hire Pharm.Ds or PhDs, or definitely a combination of both. And obviously research. So you can be in pure research. I know a lot of people after Pharm.D who are like focusing only on research. Okay, so let's talk about the other option, that is you are not going for a PhD. You want to come after your Pharm.D, or you want to become a registered pharmacist in US after Pharm.D, right? So how to register as a pharmacist in US? I will give you a very like a brief introduction into what are the procedures that you have to follow and all that. So also I'll also, in the future slides, I will also talk a little bit about what other opportunities are available other than just the practicing pharmacist. So I have tried to divide it into 4 steps here. So the step 1, after you graduate from your Pharm.D program, the first step would be you would do like a FPGEE exam, which is Foreign Pharmacy Graduate Equivalency Examination. And also, as I was telling before, a TOEFL exam, which is the English Proficiency Test. So once you get the results and you pass from those 2, then you would be required to take internship hours, which could be anywhere between 500 and 1,500 hours of internship. And why there is such a big, like a big sliding scale there, because different states here have different requirements for those internship hours. So depending on which state you are, which state in US you are planning to practice as a pharmacist, the number of hours that you will need to log for internship would be different. And after that, you would take something that's called as NAPLEX, which is the North American Pharmacist Licensure Examination. So recently, the structure of NAPLEX has changed. Now, let me make it sure. Okay, so there are about 250 questions in NAPLEX, right? And out of that 250 questions, only 200 questions is actually considered towards your score, but you would not know which questions are not and which is the actual questions and which is like the mock questions. So you have to make sure that you attempt each question with the same seriousness. The pricing for this is $575 for NAPLEX, and it is a 6 hours exam. So it is really a brutal exam. Yeah, I have heard. So personally, I have not taken NAPLEX, and I will explain more about that in later slides. But yeah, so NAPLEX is completely like a computer-based exam. It is 6 hours. So it is very important for you to, you know, like really prepare well for that before taking it. And once you pass NAPLEX, actually, you know, step 3 and 4 is actually interchangeable. It really doesn't matter which exam you take first, because at the end of the day, you need to pass NAPLEX as well as a law exam, which is called as MPJE, Multi-State Jurisprudence Examination. So that's law exam. And each state in US has different requirements on that. So to put it in a nutshell, the law exam in New York or California or Florida is usually much more harder than some other states. So it is dependent from state to state. But basically, this is all the things that you need to do to become a licensed pharmacist in the US. So once you pass NAPLEX and MPGE, you can proudly say that you're a licensed pharmacist. All right, so again, like these are some of the opportunities. I'm not going to go into detail because definitely to be considerate about the time here, but have these in the back of your mind. Make Google your best friend. Definitely research a lot on these, and you can make your own, you know, informed choice as what would be your career aspiration. So retail pharmacist, as you all know, it's the community pharmacist, right? So pharmacists here in US, they can work in a pharmaceutical outlet. It could be a standalone, like an independent pharmacy, or it could be part of a chain pharmacy. And the major chain pharmacies here in US are like CVS, Walgreens, all those are big names here. So you could be part of that, like a chain pharmacy, or it could be an independent pharmacy, meaning that you can own a pharmacy here. So usually the community pharmacists here in US are the first point of contact for patients. And again, there is clinical pharmacist, otherwise the hospital pharmacist. So working in hospital is definitely a popular option as a career for Pharm.D students or Pharm.D graduates here. So again, you get to be part of a large medical institution and you help numerous patients. You provide drug therapy based on inputs from other medical staff. So here you feel like you're part of a bigger team. So you basically, let me see, somebody's raising hand. Sure, I'll touch on that. So once I finish the slides, I'll definitely touch on that. So the question is, what are the hopes in clinical pharmacology as a post-Pharm.D fellowship program? Absolutely, I'll talk about that in detail. Thanks for the question. But yeah, coming back to what we were saying, right? Yeah. So hospital pharmacist, again, you're part of a bigger team of like doctors and dietitians and nurses, and you basically round with them, and you are providing those, more clinical value to the medical staff there. Another popular career choice is being an industry pharmacist, and that's what I do. Again, I have a couple more slides later. We will go a little more detail about what industry pharmacists do. And managed care pharmacist, listening to Sister Daisy in the initial introductory note, I was very surprised to hear managed care pharmacy and all those things being touched up. So I'm very glad that those are becoming much more popular in India. As I was saying, these were not available a couple of years back, if I'm not wrong. So broadly stated, managed care, what does managed care pharmacists do, right? Managed care is a planned, comprehensive, and integrated provision of healthcare in a cost-effective manner that emphasize preventive care. So they are basically helping the patients to reduce their hospital visits. They help in the development of drug formularies. They help in the evaluation of therapeutic protocols. It will be very interesting on what managed care pharmacists can do. And as I briefly on before, there is the option of getting into academics and research and health agency, like government agencies like FDA. And there is something called nuclear pharmacy. I'm not sure how much you are familiar with it, but again, it's a very highly specialized branch of pharmacy. And as the name suggests, nuclear pharmacy involves radioactive materials that nuclear medicinal procedures like chemotherapy, MRI, CT scan. So all these require like nuclear molecules, right? So these pharmacists work in that environment. So again, it is like very interesting. And if you have not heard that before, definitely look into that in detail. So now I'm going to talk a little more about the industry side of the pharmacy, because that's where my passion lies. That's what I do on my daily day-to-day basis. And the reason why I have this slide is because, so this is like a typical drug research and development process. And there are different steps here, right? Starting with basic research till post-marketing. And pharmacists or Pharm.Ds are heavily involved, like the Pharm.Ds are hired like in all these steps of the research and development process in a pharmaceutical industry. So that's why I wanted to bring this slide here. So there is this basic research, which happens like 2 to 3 years. Then there is early discovery or the non-clinical studies. Then there is preclinical studies, which is like before human trials, right? And then there is the whole clinical development process, which is divided as phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of a drug. And then there is the FDA review and approval. So this is a typical drug development process that happens here in US, and it is very similar to the drug development process in any other country. So what are the opportunities of Pharm.Ds in pharmaceutical industry? So these are all the different areas that you would see Pharm.Ds in pharmaceutical industry. So one is regulatory affairs, and that's what I do. And then there is medical affairs, pharmacovigilance or patient safety, medical writing. Then there is a newer field that's kind of emerging, like health economics and outcomes research. And then there is clinical research, and then there is commercial and marketing. So I think we can proudly say that there is not even a single field in pharmaceutical industry where you wouldn't see a Pharm.D working. I can go into a little more details about each of these. So what is regulatory affairs? I think like the regulatory affairs, the structure here might be a little different that we have back in our country in India. So basically regulatory affairs act as a liaison between the government, industry, and consumers. And people working in regulatory affairs help to make sure that these marketed products are safe and effective for use as advertised. And then there is a lot more niche areas in regulatory affairs. And each of these areas, you will find that Pharm.Ds are working. So there is the pure regulatory affairs strategy, meaning these are the people who come up with how to file an application, or all those strategies. It is all these people here devise those strategies. And regulatory labeling, I am a regulatory labeling strategist, meaning what I do, I kind of come up with the labels, not the ones that are on the cartons. You have seen those so many folded papers that goes inside those cartons. So that is the actual labeling. So I'm a strategist in that, meaning I kind of come up with the language that goes into that. I work with a lot of other people in clinical research, in quality, in medical affairs. So I have to work with a lot of people in these different cross-functional areas to kind of get the information from them and then put it in a form that is, acceptable by the regulatory agencies as well as healthcare providers. So I am very passionate about what I do. And I mean, again, let me tell you, like, there is a little bit of risk when you are going for such niche areas, because you're becoming an expert in one thing, but you are kind of limiting your options, right? So you have to be very careful. But by all means, if you're passionate, definitely go into niche groups. There is nothing wrong in that. I was just giving you the pros and cons. And then there is something called regulatory advertising and promotion. Again, those people work in, those people make sure that whatever the pharmaceutical industry puts in their advertising and promotional materials, those are all met by the law and all that. And then there is regulatory CMC, which means the chemistry, manufacturing, and control. So those people work a lot about the storage conditions, what goes into a drug. Or they make sure of all that is like up to the standard and with quality. And then there are regulatory operations and then regulatory project management. So as you can see, regulatory itself can be divided into so many different groups. And Pharm.Ds work in all these areas. Another one is medical affairs. So what is medical affairs? It's a key role within the pharmaceutical industry. And the primary focus of medical affairs role is to provide scientific and clinical support for commercial products. So basically, when you say that somebody is working in medical affairs strategy, they participate in the strategic or the launch planning based on the unmet medical needs from the perspective of the patients, providers, and payers. So there is a lot of strategy involved there as well. And I think, like, I heard my previous speaker also talk about medical science liaison. So in US, a lot of Pharm.Ds are hired as MSLs. So that is getting a lot more momentum in US right now. And it's very lucrative, like the MSLs make a lot of money. And then there is medical information. That's also a part of medical affairs. And then there is pharmacovigilance and patient safety, which I'm sure you guys would have heard about before. So again, pharmacovigilance is also known as the drug safety. It's a pharmacological science relating to the collection, detection, assessment, monitoring, and prevention of adverse effects. So a lot of Pharm.Ds are hired in pharmacovigilance or patient safety as well. So that's another option. And then there is medical writing, of course. I'm sure you would have heard about that before. So they applies the principles of clinical research in developing the clinical trial documents. So they, if you have a good flair of writing, or if you are someone who really enjoys, understanding those principles in clinical research and transcribing it into a way that is more, like a regulatory terms, then by all means keep this in the back of your mind as an option. As I was saying, there is something called the health economics and outcome research. So I know that's a very busy slide there with a lot of definition, but simply said, health outcome studies help you determine what works and what doesn't in healthcare. So in other words, these health economic studies provide information to decision makers for efficient use of available resources for maximizing health benefit. So if you are like one of those nerds with those economics and all that, then definitely this is a good option for you to get into health economics and outcomes research. And of course, there is the clinical research part, right? There is a lot of clinical trials happening, so much. All these pharmaceutical companies have big product pipelines. And I have to say, a lot of Pharm.Ds are hired in clinical research, a lot. And finally, there is the commercial and marketing, which is familiar to all of us, right? The marketing, there is, they work on both the clinical and the business elements of franchising marketing, and having that clinical degree of a Pharm.D gives you an upper hand in marketing as well. So I know I have questions. I will go back to this. I have just one more slide. Again, how to strengthen your resume. I think I was hinting to a lot of this in between the presentation, but so leadership, right? That's something that's very important, from at least from my perspective. Definitely, if you have opportunities to take leadership role while you're in college, go for it. You can, for one thing, it strengthens your resume. For other, it makes you a better person, right? So if you can take up those leadership roles, be a part of organizations, right? Pharmacy organizations. And as I was saying, try to improve those communication, presentation, and writing skills. You can take part in competitions if you have any there, or you can, in between the friends itself, you can write and kind of proofread with each other. That way you can definitely strengthen your communication and your writing skills. And if you have, I don't know if there are like summer internships and those sort that's available, I'm not sure, but if that's an option, definitely go for it. Look for additional research opportunities. If any of the professors in your school, in your college is offering these research opportunities, like go and take it up. And communicate your interest to your teachers and mentors. Definitely, like if you're planning to pursue these opportunities that's outside India or even within India, right? Definitely communicate it to your teachers, and I'm sure they will give you all the right guidance. If you're planning for US, definitely start preparing for GRE and TOEFL. As I was saying, the GRE for sure is not an easy exam, so the earlier the better if you start preparing. And do your research, have a game plan. So make use of all these webinars, like make notes of every available opportunities, and then finally decide for yourself, right, what is best for you, and have a game plan. And definitely, you have a lot of different alphabets, A to Z. Have a plan A. If plan A doesn't work, then what's plan B? You should definitely have like a second option there. And finally, eat, sleep, pharmacy, repeat. Yeah, that's what we do, right? Every day. Awesome. Okay. I think that's the end of my, and for sure, like you can note my LinkedIn name. It's Parvati Varma. Feel free to connect with me. I'll be so happy to help any students who are actually looking for opportunities here. And I mean, I have been in your shoes not so long ago. So definitely it's not an easy path. So if you have any further questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, I'll be happy to help. So let me go back to the question here. Okay, so what are the hopes in clinical pharmacology as a post-Pharm.D fellowship program? That's a great question. So Adarsh, so there are a couple of, let me put it this way. After Pharm.D, actually, there are two options if you want to do like a postgraduate program, right? So there is both residency and fellowship. So clinical pharmacology fellowships, to be honest, I have not heard of it that much here in the US. I could be wrong. But if you could unmute yourself, like what are you planning to get into with the clinical pharmacology fellowship, just for, like, so that I can understand. Adarsh?
I'm sorry, ma'am. Adarsh won't be able to unmute himself, I
Oh,
guess.
so you have disabled. No, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Actually, Adarsh is our 5th year Pharm.D student.
Okay.
And that's the question he wants to ask you.
Okay.
About,
So I'm, yes.
Ma'am, I come to read about an article regarding the post Pharm.D fellowship programs in the US. So I came to know about a topic that is clinical pharmacology.
Okay.
So I was interested in what all are the after effects. I mean, what all are the hopes in it.
Okay. All right. So as I was saying, after a post Pharm.D fellowship, again, you can totally, it is up to you, right, where you want to end up. So clinical pharmacology fellowship, I would think that that is more like a research focused fellowship than a clinical fellowship. So after a research focused fellowship, you would either work in any of these research organizations as Sister Daisy was mentioning, there is this clinical research organizations, otherwise called as CROs, and pharma industry itself, they give a lot of stress on these people with these post-Pharm.D fellowships. So clinical pharmacology will help you to get an entry into those clinical development scientist positions. And I think like in these agencies like health agencies, as I was saying, like NIH, all those places where they take up a lot of research, they would need this clinical pharmacologist. And I think even in academia, definitely there will be a lot of opportunities after a clinical pharmacology. But I can give you an example. Actually, in the fellowship program that I did my fellowship, there is something called as a clinical development fellowship, and that was more that I think this would be kind of similar to that. And after a clinical development fellowship also, you can get in as a clinical development scientist in pharmaceutical companies. Hope that answers your question. Any other questions I can take on?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, ma'am. Thank you for your question. For your information. And I am Linda Susan from JSS College of Pharmacy, Mysore. I'm doing my internship here. Ma'am, as you said, managed care pharmacist. So can I know what all jobs they can do, where all they are posted regarding all those things? And ma'am, let me tell my background actually. I am I'm married. My husband is in US, and so I'm waiting for spouse entry. So as from my part, I am seeing the opportunity of managed care pharmacist. Of course, I'll try for NAPLEX. I'm aiming for that only. So we have to see the hills and valleys. So so I wish to know about this managed care pharmacist, and other two more questions are there. I hope after this I can ask you.
Sure, Linda, thanks for the question. So in the interest of time, let me just touch upon the managed care, because I think that would be helpful for the wider audience. And as I said, if you have any more specific questions, feel free to reach out to me later. So managed care pharmacists, usually they work in, it's sometimes called as PBM, and I'm sure the next speaker, Dr. Kurup, would also be able to, add upon this if you have further. But they work in usually like insurance or agencies, and also it's something called PBM, which is like a pharmacy business management. So those are the major areas where managed care pharmacists work. As I was saying, like I can definitely give you more links to it. Feel free to connect with me and I can give you those exact options, like where you can look for jobs. And I forgot to mention this to the wider group here. As I was saying, I have not taken my NAPLEX. So if you are working in an industry right after Pharm.D, like NAPLEX is not something that's mandatory. I will not recommend that. It's always good, like after you're taking your Pharm.D, it's good to get licensed. But yeah, I mean I am kind of guilty of not doing that yet. I plan to do that soon, but yeah, that's something.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, that was my second question. Do we need NAPLEX for joining in pharmaceutical companies? And if so, ma'am, if you want to work in pharmaceutical company, do we have any extra exams other than NAPLEX?
Not really. No, a Pharm.D degree is the only criterion if you are applying for, relevant jobs. And yeah, you don't have to be licensed.
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't say that.
The,
It's
yeah,
like a
ma'am.
hush hush.
One more thing, ma'am. Ma'am, from our college, they're providing 1 year of regulatory affairs diploma course, and they're providing certificate. So we can take it by side. So if we are taking the diploma course and having a certificate, is that advantage for us to join in a pharmacy in a RA background in America?
I think yes, because as I was saying, regulatory affairs is getting a lot more momentum here, and hiring Pharm.Ds is becoming more and more relevant. So having that extra certification in regulatory affairs might be helpful along with your Pharm.D. Absolutely.
Okay, ma'am, other than this, do we need to do any extra RA related courses or anything, internship or anything over there?
It totally depends. And as I was saying, Linda, I mean, in the interest of time, I'm taking a lot more time. Please feel free to connect with me
Sure.
on LinkedIn. I can
Sure.
answer all your questions.
Sure,
All
sure.
right.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I guess, yeah. So thank you once again. Thank you so much, everyone, for this opportunity. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Parvati, for your organized and straight talk. Actually, you talked right from the bottom of your heart and very straight, saying that you regretted taking Naplex and all whatever challenges you faced. So on behalf of St. Joseph's College of Pharmacy, we would like to thank you once again, and good evening.
Thank you.
Next, I request Mr. St. Joseph, Associate Professor, Department of Pharmacology, to introduce the speaker for our next session. Over to you, sir.
Next, we are moving to the next section of our today's webinar, going to conducted by Dr. Murali Kurup on the topic Job Opportunities and Community Pharmacists in USA. Dr. Murali Kurup completed his B.Pharm from PES College of Pharmacy, Bangalore, and Pharm.D from University of Florida, United States of America. Dr. Murali also pursued many other courses like pharmacy-based immunization certification course, certified basic life support for the healthcare providers from American Heart Association, IV certification and hospital pharmacy training, pharmacy regulatory specialist certification, critical care pharmacy review courses, diploma in pharmaceutical wholesale and drugstore managed from the Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Pune, diploma in pharmaceutical purchasing, store and inventory management, then antibiotic stewardship certificate program from Society of Infectious Disease and Pharmacists. Dr. Murali also got exposure from the many institutions like Redeem Laboratories. There he involved in the manufacturing of small oleum parenterals, and also he is involved in the ophthalmic preparations. He is worked in Oman in Ibn Al-Hain Clinic. There he served as a pharmacist and involved in the responsibilities like managing the retail and wholesale distribution of medicine, and he involved in the implementation of rules and regulation of Ministry of Health planning and marketing strategy of the pharmacy. And he worked in Kit Carson County Memorial Hospital in USA. There he served as a pharmacist and a pharmacy manager. Hoover Pharmacy, Michigan, that's also in USA. There he worked as a consultant in the pharmaceutical aspect. Currently, he is working in Lakewood Pharmacy in Michigan. In there, he is involved in the Poison Information Center and its duties like consultation, marketing, and relief of pharmacists. Now, I invite Dr. Murali Kurup to give the guidelines to our new buddings to choose a correct path after their degree program. If they are planning to come to USA, they can decide and which path they can go. So now I welcome Dr. Murali to start our section.
Hello, thank you. Good evening. I want to congratulate you on being a pharmacist or in pursuit of being shortly. I understand many of you are ready to join the workforce. Others are wondering where should I look for a job in other country, or should I be here in India? So let us explore how it is over here. I also want to inspire you to decide your future if you are not planning to come to US, in the sense the thought process uh, where you choose to work. So let me start my. I hope all of you are hearing very clearly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so pharmacist in US is a very good job. There is no other country which pays a pharmacist more than any other country in the world. So number of pharmacists in US from 2001 to 2019 has been steadily increasing. It's because of the many process. So it's up to earlier their target was to have at least 70 pharmacists per 100,000 population. But with the influx of many pharmaceutical college and foreign graduates, now the current data is like approximately 100 pharmacists per 1,000. So it has gone more. You can see as per the graph, bar graph here. So there is like almost 300,000 pharmacists here right now. So it's a little more than what was expected. So whenever as people say about the pay of the pharmacist is very good. Like I said, no other country pays a very good salary to pharmacists. That's why we have a lot of demand. People want to come over here. There is a decline in the pay, basically because of new rules and regulations, and everyone is trying to get a grab on the reimbursement. So it's very little change. You see there is a minus 3% decline in the pay right now. So how does they pay? Like the pharmacist who is working in the general merchandise stores, they get up to 136K, to somebody working in a drugstore gets approximately 125K. So there's a little variation, but it's all at the end of the day, you get a good pay. Now, where does the most of the pharmacists work? Mostly, you see here, it's on the retail work or the community pharmacy. It's up to 42%. So, and it's others, second is around like in hospitals, state governments. So it's only 26%, and remaining are very low. So most of the pharmacists work in retail and drugstore. So you may be wondering why. So let us explore it. So there are two type of community pharmacy here. One is the chain and the independent. So chain is like the CVS, and the other independent is like the private mom and pop shops, which are like from independent owners. You can see the growth of chain has steadily increased from 2010. There is a reason behind that. So, and it has been increasing, and now there's a decline because of a lot of merging, and they want to cut down the competition. So they are like merging many of them. So less competition, and even they have started purchasing many independent pharmacies so they can cut down the competition. So here I want to make you a note here. See, the note here is the CEO of CVS Health pocketed almost 36.5 million in 2019. That's his 2019 income. It's 700 times median annual wage. So if anyone thinks the pharmacists make more, no, it is the people who manage the care makes more. It's a dogfight here for if you are able to see the meme here. So let us keep moving. And I know it's very short of time. So let us see why the people are behind pharmacy and where is the money coming from. This is the US budget of 2021. How much is allocated here? It's healthcare allocation is like $1.4 trillion. It's the number one. So how much budget is the first in the whole thing? Second to defense, which is like defense is the second one. It's a 1.1 trillion. So in US healthcare system, there are three major payers. So when you see where is the money coming from? So federal health care projects. So we have three major systems. One is the Medicare, Medicaid, and private and health insurance, and employer sponsored. So Medicare is the one, it's a federal program. It's for the age 65 and older. Medicaid is something which is a state net program, which is for the people who have a safety net, who are below the poverty line. And private health insurance is like company, somebody want to have a private insurance, and employer sponsored is the one the employer gives to the employee. So our most important target would be Medicare. So they have different parts. It consists mostly of Part A, Part B, and Part C, and Part D. It's self-explanatory here. Part D is the prescription plan. There's where we are mostly going to be targeted. Most of the presentation is going to be Medicare. So here you see why this pharmacist is very important here. The 32% in the budget, Medicare budget, you have 32% is prescription drugs. Not to forget all this other place like nursing facility, physician service, hospital care, and home health also have some elements of dispensing there too. So that is why pharmacy takes care of a majority chunk of the budget. So that's why the people are behind the pharmacy and they want to cut the cost here. This is a prediction for the future, and they say, and this is going to be how it looks like. So the cost of prescription drugs has been increasing, but the hospital care has decreased over the period of the time. So, and this is going to be happening in future too because of the new medications which are coming in the market. Let's see now. So I told about the federal budget. So what about the US healthcare budget? It's around $3.82 trillion. And of $3.82 trillion, you see the majority of the amount is spent here. A percentage is on retail medical product, prescription drugs, and all other medical products. So that's why the focus is on community pharmacy, or we can say mostly the people are on community pharmacy. This is a prediction for the year 2019 to 27, where they say hospital care would be 56% and the retail sales of the products, medications will be around like 59%. Not to forget all these elements do have some concept of medication there. So you will be dispensing in hospital care and home health everywhere. So what does a community pharmacist do? These are the main, something they do every day. It's a dispensing, MTM, medication, therapy management, immunization, monitoring of medication, how it works. This is the community pharmacies. We have a lot of complication. It's not like how we practice in India, where people come with the prescription, just give it what the medication they want. So we have regulatory affairs thing we had to take care. One is the federal laws and the state laws. And why it's so important? Because majority of the payer are the federal dollars, as I mentioned, it's from the Medicare. So we have to have clear documentation of all the things. Like even after 10 years, they can come back for an audit and ask you, where is the prescription? Where is the batch number you dispensed? What is the, so we are supposed to keep at least 10 years record of each dispensing from, imagine from the paracetamol in our country. So you have to do. Penalties include very huge penalties. Sometimes it may be jail term also. What does happen in a community pharmacist brain when he works here? You can see this. These are all self-explanatory, and I'm going to send this PowerPoint to Sibi so that in the interest of time, I don't have to read everything for you. So there is other aspect of working in a community pharmacy. This is the lawsuits. So here is a case in 2012. What happened? We had a lawsuit with the. This is about a pharmacy lawsuit. The patient sued the pharmacy saying that he did not receive a correct dosage of warfarin. So the physician prescribed and the pharmacist dispensed the medication exactly what he has prescribed, but the patient claim was the dosage of the medication, the warfarin, did not protect the patient from having a stroke. So you see how much a pharmacist is liable here. And it went to the first court, lower court, they upheld the ruling and the pharmacy was going to get punished, but pharmacy appealed on the appellate court of Supreme Court, and they reversed the reversed the verdict in favor of the pharmacy. So most importantly, you have to be very careful when you dispense a thing here. You have to be very careful. We should be knowing, and there is a proper counseling process like we put in so that we don't have such issues. Pharmacist job, I don't want to create a rosy picture here. It's not good as it was decade ago. There was a real demand because the Medicare had started in 2006 Part-D, and there was a lot of demand for pharmacists from the chain and other private pharmacies. Now it's no more that good. Due to other thing is that because of this, what pharmacists have become is they have tried to show they are specialized. They have special skills, like they have PG1 residency, PG2 residency. Now they are planning for PG3 residency also. So there are different aspects of getting specialized, and they want to be more show how they are different from the others. So I know Dr. Parvati explained to you how to get through the NAP, like the process of coming here, but a person who had gone through all this process, I tell it's up to you how you want to have. So this is the first step. You have to register with the NABP for a PGC, pass TOEFL, and pass NAPLEX and MPG. She explained to you very detailed, so I'm not going to touch that. These are the books, and you should be trying to follow up. This is the challenge I find. So the score for TOEFL is here. The reading should be 22, listening is 21, speaking is 26. And it is that hardest part to get this part, speaking 26, because average American speaker, if they go for an exam, their speaking is 24, but they want you to be 26. So you understand how much communication emphasis is here. And that would be a very tough goal to reach it. So I would recommend if anyone want to come, they should start watching American shows and practice more American way of thing. Foreign pharmacist licensing, it's not impossible, but you have to go through hard work, study mind. So here is the one thing I want to leave you, even if you don't understand anything of what I told you. This is an inspiration which I have been inspired, and I think you also will be inspired. So this is a story my friend told initially when I started, but it has been with me lifelong. So he said, first when Persians came to US and to the India, they went to King and said, we want a place to have our business here. We want to have some type of accommodation here to do business. So the king said, hey, it's very hard to communicate with these people. So king decided to bring, asked his servant to bring some milk and a glass. So they bought a glass and king poured all the milk onto it and showed, hey, it's full here. So the Persians, you know how smart they are. This guy dipped his finger into a ball and took some drops of water and poured into the glass. What does it mean? See, there will be no change if we come and work here. It's going to be the same. So you have to hustle like perseverance. So you have to be there, push through all the aspect if you want to be success at this stage. This is a board certification. You know, there is a lot of certification right now. It's all as self-explanatory in the website. And this is a community. Let me see if I can go with you on a video.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
That was a very, very enlightening session on.
Are you able to see my video?
No, sir, not yet, not yet.
Let me see if I can share you.
Yeah.
Are you able to see now?
No, not yet.
Let me try to. Okay, 1 second. Let me try to. This something I wanted to show you. Like, if somebody is trying to.
Sir, I think you can close your share screen.
Oh, okay. Okay, no, it's fine. Yeah, I'm not very much used to this, so. Are you able to see now?
Yeah, I think it's just beginning.
Now?
Yes, sir. Now we can see.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Steve
Are you hearing the song?
Pharmacist and owner here at Aubrey Health Mart Pharmacy.
It's audible.
Give you a little tour here of what happens to your prescription when you come to see us. First of all, you'll come into the drop-off counter where the technician, clerk, pharmacist, anybody that's able to help you will take the prescription from you, get a little bit of information. After the prescription's been dropped off for the filling technician, it's going to come back here and get classified into whether it's a waiter. We do mail out for some folks and a little bit of delivery. Delivery is one of our new things. This is for folks that are going to be coming back later, and this is the basket for the drive-through people, so we know what to expect and where the prescription is going to end up. After we've classified the prescription into what kind of pickup system we're going to be using for you, it comes in here to data entry, where a certified pharmacy technician is going to put in the information, and at this point is when we determine whether we've got the medication in stock, so we can let you know right away if we need to order it. And if we do have to order it, we'll have it the next morning at about 9 o'clock. We get a delivery every day. The other thing that can be determined here rapidly to let you know is if there's an insurance issue. After the entry's been done, everything's been verified, it'll come on down here to the counting station where we have another certified technician. We'll either go to the shelves and retrieve the medication, or if it's in the robot, It'll come out of here. Anything that's not in the robots and electronically counted here gets placed on this device called an icon, which is a laser counter. It verifies that it's the correct medication and also counts the medication and takes a picture of the number of pills that are on the tray. Another safety device for the patient, making sure we're getting you the correct product. After it's left the counting station, it comes down here to the pharmacist where it'll be checked for make sure that we've got the correct medication, correct directions. Pharmacist is also checking for drug interactions and checking on that drug allergy information that was obtained from the patient at the drop-off. After it's gone through this area is an opportunity if the patient's requested our pass packaging system. The medication would then go to the back for that type of packaging and then come back after that and go into the pickup area, which is going to be, if you're a waiter, be in one of those baskets again. If it's going to be picked up later, it goes into our clear bag system so that when it comes around here, we have the bags all here waiting for people to pick up. Then when the prescription's completely finished, if it's a new prescription, the pharmacist is going to come out here with the medication to talk to the patient about that medication. We're going to ring you out of the register and get you on your way just as rapidly as possible. And the most important thing, making sure everything's correct.
So that's about how the process
Thanks for taking
works.
the
So these are some of the website you can find. Are you able to see my screen? So this is the NABP website. Here, if you go, this is the FPGC, where you get full details how to become what to do when you come over, when you apply. It's there. And let me go to the other screen. This is the book, which would be very helpful if you are not planning to take the FPGC, if you are planning to study somewhere or take other competitive exam. This has a comprehensive review of the pharmacy. The FPG is mostly divided into this portion of it. So most importantly, they like to have more biostatistics questions to you. And I will share the video with CB so that if you missed anything, you can copy it off from that. And there is an alternative way to become a pharmacist here. Get a Pharm.D if you are somebody is in bachelor's, they want to study here. These two colleges and has an entry program which you can explain, which is self-explanatory here. And this website goes very deep, how to get a licensed pharmacist in be a licensed pharmacist in the US. So that's all. I think I took more time than allotted. I just want to close down now. Thank you very much. I want to thank Sibi and many others for this opportunity. Any questions? Hello?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
That was a wonderful presentation, especially with the video, which showcased all the activities very much organized in a community pharmacy, sir. So
Yes.
there's just one question, sir. You had mentioned about that the record should be maintained for 10 years in a community pharmacy.
Yes.
And what may be the penalties in case of default?
It depends, and mostly you may lose your privilege to dispense for that insurance or federal.
Sir, you're not audible, sir.
Not audible? Okay, 1 second. Are you hearing me now? Hello? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yes. Can you hear me?
A little more clear, sir, clearer, louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, somewhat.
So if you are not having the documentation what they require, you may get a penalty. Like they have they can take you away from the program. So you may not be able to dispense for their insurance or something like further in the coming years. So
Thank you, sir. That was very wonderful information. Thank you on behalf of St. Joseph's College of Pharmacy. We would like to thank you once again.
thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Wish you all the best, all the students. Thank you.
Over to Naveen, sir.
Hello. Hello. I hope I'm audible. Okay, now we are in the last session. As I was telling you, you were flying around the world. You had been to the Australia, the US, and now welcome back to India, because our next speaker is from Hyderabad. And believe me, he's got into a new area, and we look forward to hearing from him. To introduce Dr. Bharat, I would welcome Vinod sir. Vinod sir is a senior professor in pharmaceutical chemistry in our college. Sir, the stage, rather the online platform is all yours. Please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Navin Kumar Panikar. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Bharat Biju about the topic job opportunities in pharma industry after Pharm.D. Dr. Bharat Biju graduated from Amrita School of Pharmacy in the year 2018. He has done his internship at Amrita Institute of Medical Science and Apollo Hospital International Private Limited, Ahmedabad, which is a JCI accredited hospital. After graduation, he started working in Bioclinica as a drug safety associate and worked with ICSR, case processing data safety entry and follow-up management ad hoc projects. He has hands-on experience working in Argus and RSG safety database. He has got good knowledge about pharmacovigilance and GVP guidelines. Regarding his research experience, he has presented a poster on the topic Bendamustine-induced cutaneous reaction, AKCs, during research day held at Amrita School of Pharmacy in the year 2007. He also presented a poster on the topic Assessment of Antibiotic Prescribing Pattern in Pediatric Inpatients during CPCon 2015 International Conference on Evolving Role of Clinical Pharmacists in Multidisciplinary Healthcare Settings at Manipal College of Pharmaceutical Science, Manipal University, Manipal. Presently, Dr. Bharat Biju is working with the Bayer Sidus Pharma Private Limited as therapy lead in the cardiovascular risk management division. And currently, he is based at Hyderabad. And on behalf of St. Joseph College of Pharmacy, I heartily welcome Dr. Bharat Biju to this occasion, and I invite him to deliver his talk on the topic job opportunities in pharma industry after farming. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vinod sir, and I hope I'm audible, sir. Yes. So, good evening, everybody. So today I'm indeed honored to be, talking to these bunch of, budding pharmacists who I reckon at a stage where I stood before 2 years. So now, all of you, I know you are under a very good guidance of teachers, eminent teachers from, St. Joseph's College. And I take this opportunity to thank the management of St. Joseph's and, Director Madam, Betty Carla ma'am, Principal ma'am, and other faculties of St. Joseph's College of Pharmacy for giving me an opportunity to interact with the budding pharmacists. A special mention to CB sir, Naveen sir, Jipnoman sir, and Lakshmi ma'am, who have always been with me, taught me, mentored me at Amrita, and helped me throughout my journey of learning. So I just want to quickly take you through the slides. So we know we all work together in the same profession. So the other three speakers have, discussed everything about what are the opportunities in India and like in US and Australia. So the similar thing you find in India, but I just wanted to take you to the slide where I'll be explaining you as to how you want to place yourself and how can you effectively place yourself in pharma industry. So I'll just quickly share my slide. Is the slide visible, sir?
Yeah, visible.
Yes.
So I'll be discussing about the novel opportunities in the pharma industry. So, to achieve a target or to achieve a goal, what we need is to aim right. So I hope you all have taken the poll and I've just got the responses and I'll just share you the responses. So now if you see, most of the people have, opted that they want to be a clinical pharmacist. And most of them have come up with, clinical research and pharmacovigilance. And I'm very, surprised to see, most of them want a job after Pharm.D. So I want to tell about, people who want just a job. So for them, maybe the reason why they have, given such a poll is maybe because before the presentation, maybe they were not, knowing what kind of a job will suit them. So I hope even post this presentation or post this webinar, they'll have a, clear idea as to which field they should choose. So just, talking about that, I just want, everybody to aim right. So to achieve a goal, what you need to do is you have to aim right. And for that to happen, you need to have an alignment. Okay. So that will be alignment between your skills, your strength and weakness, and then what do you really want to achieve. See, these are the three things. Like, first one will be your skill set. First, you need to know yourself. Like, what are your skill set? What are your strengths? That is academically, how much you have, knowledge you have gained, or what are the soft skills that you have, and what you finally want to end up with. What is your aim? So once you have an alignment between all the three, and I'm very sure that you are going to, have a very good, just a second. You will have a final goal. So once you have an alignment between all the three, you will have a final goal. So before you end up discussing, or before you end up applying for a job, I want you to understand yourself, where will you fit the best. Okay. And one more thing which I wanted to tell you is, what will be your representation. So when you come out to the industry, when you want to talk, or when you want to apply for a job, your best representation will be your CV. So what I would require everybody to do now is to know, what are your requirement. For example, if you want to apply for a post of drug safety associate, or apply a post in clinical research, I want everybody. So if a particular person is applying for this particular job, so you need to tailor your CV as per the job requirement. So you cannot have a CV where you have prepared for applying for a post of clinical pharmacist, and you cannot give the same CV for applying in a pharma industry, in a clinical research or pharmacovigilance. So you have to tailor your CV as per your job requirement, and also you need to keep it concise. It should not ideally go beyond 2 pages of A4, and do not leave gap and do not have errors. As sir, in the first speech, he was telling, do not copy paste from somewhere, or maybe my friend has done this, so I've just copied pasted in the same thing. So do not do that. Remove errors. So basically what matters is you have to tell the truth. So whatever you have done, whatever skills you have to properly tell them, this is what I have. So for you guys to get a quick good understanding about what are the different job opportunities in India, I would like to take you guys throughout the judge. I just want to tell about the drug journey. So what is the drug journey? First, when you understand the drug journey, you will know if this is how the pharma industry is working. So these are the skill sets that I have. Okay, these are the strengths that I have, and where can I place myself in this drug journey? Okay, so the drug journey will start from the drug discovery. So that is like the birth of a drug. Birth of the drug, in the sense the drug discovery is something to do with research and development. So you'll have so many people from the clinical background, from a research background, who are doing PhD. So those kind of people will club together, work together uh, in a disciplinary manner. Okay, so they work towards drug discovery. So people, for drug discovery, you need people who are well off with their academics, who are having good knowledge in the subject. They should be basically subject matter experts. So once you're doing Pharm.D, post which you plan for a master's degree, MS in particular, domain. Maybe you are planning for a specialization like in oncology, or you want something to do in neuroscience. So once you do more specialization and once you plan for a PhD, you can place yourself in drug discovery, because that is going to be, a area where people who are research oriented or who are academically well off, again, sir has told about, publications. So you need to be, in that segment of people, so you can directly have an entry to the drug discovery point, that is the research and development. So when it comes to a pharma industry, so as a fresher, you will be thinking, okay, as a fresher, as a Pharm.D graduate, passing out this year, how will I end up in drug discovery? So what I want you guys to do practically, one thing is possible, that is you have to have a very good network. So network, in the sense, you need to interact with so many people who are working in the pharma industry. So one best way is LinkedIn. So you need to have a very good networking. Okay, once you network, so one thing that you have to keep in mind, because when it comes to networking, you cannot directly, message somebody asking, sir, I want job in your company. So that is not the right way of approaching. So whenever you approach, okay, you have to, for example, you identify a multinational company. Just for example, I'll tell you, maybe Novartis or Pfizer. Okay, top companies. So when you approach somebody from Novartis or from Pfizer, you send a request in LinkedIn. So if you are oriented, if you want to work in the research and development, first background research, what you have to do is know about the company, know about the portfolios that they're working, know about the drugs that they have. Okay, so basically, once you do a background research about that company, next thing what you have to do is approach that company person. Okay, maybe an employee who is working there. So you send a message to them, okay, saying, sir, I just wanted to know few things about your company, how the drug discovery part, or what are the things happening in the research and development thing, or maybe you want to have an internship there. So when you plan for an internship, mostly it is not a paid internship. So what your intention of doing an internship should not be to get a payment. Basically, the plan of doing an internship with a multinational company should always be to get, some exposure. So once you get an exposure from a multinational company, how their research wing is working, so that is going to boost up your confidence and your knowledge. So the next time when you apply for a job, compared to the other, any other person, you are well off, because you have extra knowledge, or you have extra, you know, some knowledge or experience that you have gained out of your internship. So that is one way of entering into a multinational company, especially if you want to end up in drug research and development. There are a few other, cross-functional groups also, like, regulatory affairs. You have clinical research, you have pharmacovigilance. So in the drug journey, all these, cross-functional groups work together. Okay, for the molecule to start from its birth till the time it reaches the hospital, all the, segments are working together. Okay, so even if you place yourself in other cross-functional group also, if you are competent enough, you can switch between these segments, because all these are interlinked. So even if you can't, even if you think that you do not have a direct entry to research and development, still you can have a cross-functional group, okay, through which you can gain entry. Next one, what I'm going to, the next part of the drug journey, after drug discovery, you will have, so many preclinical studies, you have so many studies in the microorganism, then the animal studies you have, and later on you have human studies. So all these things comes under phase 1, 2, 3 of the clinical trial. So what basically happens here in this part of the drug journey is, When you have a clinical trial, so now you know the clinical research, the clinical research team will be taking care of this particular segment. So clinical research team is nothing but you have a team of associates, you have a team of coordinators who will coordinate between the site and the clinician. So mostly in a hospital setting, if you see, the doctors, okay, the doctors will be there. Maybe for example, take a case of a multinational, a multi-specialty hospital. So in a multi-specialty hospital, maybe the oncology department is planning to carry out a clinical trial on particular drug or a particular group of patients. So the hospital will, employ a clinical research coordinator. He will be mostly from a clinical, some clinical research organization, basically. So what they do is the job, like how you can place yourself here, is in the role of a clinical research coordinator. So what you basically do is you coordinate between the sites, whatever things that have to be given to them, from the research organization and the clinician, whatever things has to be provided for that clinical research to happen, everything will be coordinated. Okay, next thing what I want to tell is pharmacovigilance. So pharmacovigilance will also be placed in this particular segment. Pharmacovigilance is nothing but it will take care of the drug safety parameters. So the pharmacovigilance for a particular drug, the pharmacovigilance journey with the drug will start from this phase itself. Whenever a drug, a patient is taking a drug, maybe may it be in clinical trial or in hospital or any other setup, I'm telling you, whenever a patient is taking a drug, from that time, the company, the innovator company or whichever company is marketing that particular drug, will have to monitor its safety till the time, even after 5 years of withdrawal, till the time the batch is available in the market, the company is supposed to carry out the safety analysis. Okay, so that is a bigger segment. Like when you talk about pharmacovigilance also will be placed in this segment. Okay, then moving to this, after this clinical research is over, what we have is approval. Then comes the drug approval. Once all the safety data, you think that yes, this product is safe for use in human beings, then it will go for an approval. So this approval will be given by the regulatory bodies. So these regulatory bodies are nothing but like USFDA we have, then we have DCJ in India, then you have EMA for Europe. So same way we have so many regulatory bodies. So these regulatory bodies will collect all the information which you are doing in the second phase of the drug journey, like whatever clinical trial you are doing and whatever pharmacovigilance data that you have. Then you have in vigilance, pharmacovigilance itself, you have aggregate reporting, where you take for a one particular drug, what are the similar, for example, you take a drug X and you experience itching. So similar type of studies for that particular drug will be collated. So then they make it into a form of a PADR or a PSUR, and then they submit. That is called aggregate reporting. That happens, yearly submissions happen. So this they submit to the regulatory bodies, and regulatory bodies will go through this, and then if they think that yes, this particular drug is useful, they give the drug approval. So here also Pharm.D can be Pharm.D can be placed, and any pharmacy graduate who is competent enough in this particular aspect can be placed in the regulatory affairs. Okay. And also next thing what comes is the post marketing, post approval and post marketing surveillance. There also you can find PV. Okay, PV right from phase 1, 2, 3 of clinical trial to till the time the drug is in the market, or even after withdrawal till the last batch is sold. You have to conduct pharmacovigilance studies. So in marketing, what happens again, two more options open up for you. One is the marketing. Okay, one is marketing, and next is going to be the sales team. So marketing and sales team are from the company. They'll be like they'll be selling, or they'll be marketing and selling the product, and it will reach the clinicians, through which it will reach the patients. So that is also one of the major areas where we can work on, that is marketing and sales. Yeah, so I'll just tell you again what are the things that you require to end up in drug discovery. That is the first segment, research and development. So mostly PhD scholars can find themselves, can place themselves in this particular aspect. Okay, whichever company is more into research, okay, you can try placing yourself here. And main thing I told you, one thing which plays an important role is your networking. How well you connect with people and how good you are in establishing relationship with people. So you talk to an associate who is working in a company, you ask them what are the culture of that company, or what are the what are the options for somebody who is pursuing a PhD to work with you or to do internship with you. So that is how you gain entry to the multinational companies. Next one is that subject matter expert. You have to be really good with your subject knowledge. Okay, so only those percentage or those group of people who are very good with their subject and who wants to do specialization or who have done specialization in maybe oncology, neuroscience, infectious disease, cardiovascular risk management and all that. So who are subject matters, okay, subject matter experts can place themselves in drug discovery, in research and development. Developing a new molecule, see, developing a new molecule, you need it's like so many cross functional groups work together, I told you before. So here you have a chemist who is good at chemistry, then you'll have that structural activity relationship and all those things will come in place. Later you will have people from pharmacology, from therapeutics, okay, statistics, everything will come together, they work together to develop a new molecule. Okay, and this is what is research and development. So the skill set that you require to end up in drug discovery is in-depth subject knowledge. Okay, that is a mandate thing. Then as sir said in the previous talk, that is, you need to have more publication. You have to show yourself that you have done so many research on your own when you are when you are in college. So most of those exposure will be taken considered in this particular segment. And your interest, of course you should be interested. So one more thing what I wanted to relate just out of the pharma industry is, when you have all these skills you can end up in teaching also. So what you have to see here is what what you are good at, especially if you're good at conveying things to people. Okay, you can end up in teaching also. You have to have first of all you should have a good teaching skills, like interact with students and know, first basically you have to know the students, how, what they require and what is your subject knowledge and are you good at conveying things to them. Then you can place yourself in academics also. And one main difference that I see here is, when you think of publication, if you work in a company in research and development, you cannot publish the data on your own because those things are confidential. Okay, so that will not go as your first publication, or you can't have more publications working in a company setup because most of the things are confidential, research things. But the difference with all these skill set, when you work in a teaching facility or when you work as an academician, what you can do is you can have more publications, and with that experience again you can place yourself in drug discovery or research and development wing. So these are the different ways where how you can place yourself, and these are the different skill set that one requires to acquire. Okay, throughout your phase of study or throughout the 6 years of study that you're doing, you have to see, do I have these skills? If yes, how do I improve more on it? Okay, if no, there are other segments also. This is just the first segment of drug journey. So in the other segment, this is for the other set of people who have different skill sets. So now coming to the phase of clinical trial, as we have discussed before, here we are going to deal with clinical data management, clinical research, pharmacovigilance, medical coding, and medical writing. So now you know what happens in a clinical trial. So you know that the clinical research people will be doing everything, like the entire setup of a clinical research will be provided by the clinical research team. And in the clinical research, you know that subjects will be given some drug. Okay, so all these drugs, when they are given, are they safe? Are they facing any adverse reactions to those drugs? All these things will be taken care by the pharmacovigilance team. And this pharmacovigilance team will side by side they will send all these safety reports to the regulatory bodies. Okay, So in this segment, if you see, you have a clinical data management. Clinical data management is nothing but all these information, all the clinical research information should be stored in a systematic way so that this can be sent to the regulatory authorities. So basically what you have to understand is all the 5 teams will have to work together, then only these safety information will be sent to the regulatory body. So regulatory body is again the sixth opportunity where you can place in this particular segment. When it comes to phases of clinical trial, you have 6 options here available for a Pharm.D graduate or for a even for a B.Pharm and M.Pharm graduate. So the importance of clinical data management, you have to understand. The clinical research team will, clinical research and pharmacovigilance team will have a data. The medical writing people will be very good at writing all these data. Writing in the sense you should have a good writing skills. Basically, a medical writing team is going to write the entire story of the research. Like what are the, like it will include all the information of the study. Like what are the inclusion criteria, what are the exclusion criteria, what was the study based on, what was the efficacy or what was the product which was discussed. So entire thing will be systematically arranged and written in a disciplined way by the medical writing team. And this medical writing team will transfer the same data to the clinical data management. So once this is transferred to the clinical data management, this particular team is going to align everything and make it, they will do all the data archival thing so that the time the time lag that we have from one phase to another, because the phase 2 where we have all the clinical trial things happening, and then the next stage will be you have to go for drug approval. So if we do not have a good clinical data management, if things are not set systematically, there will be more time lag. So just to avoid that, clinical data management team will play an important role in systemizing all the clinical data that they have, and then they will transfer the same to the regulatory bodies for the final approval. So once the regulatory bodies look into all the data that they have sent, once they think that yes, this molecule is safe for human use or for a larger population, then they will give an approval. So this is how the the second phase of the drug journey works, and this is how you can place yourself in the second segment of the journey. So when it comes to clinical data management, the skill set that you should have is archival skills. Okay, how do you archive things? How do you have a systematic arrangement? So that is the basic skill that you require. When it comes to clinical research, you should have a very good knowledge, okay, on the phases of clinical trial. You should have a very good communication skill, because you are going to deal with clinicians, and you are going to tell them how this is going to work. Okay, so once you are briefing everything to a medical professional, you should really have a very good communication skill also. Then you should have statistical knowledge. Okay, you have sample size calculation, or statistical analysis of what is the drug efficacy, and there are so many statistical analysis that is going to come in clinical research. So you should have a very good statistical knowledge, and also interpreting skills. So you will have so many data in the form of pie charts and graphs, and maybe in the clinical, so many clinical publications will be there for comparison. So you should be able to interpret data, and interpret and tell that yes, this particular drug is more efficacious than the other drug, or this has got a more good side effect profiling. So all that will come only if you have a good interpreting skills. So if you think that you have this particular skill set, yes, you can place yourself in clinical research. Then coming to pharmacovigilance. So pharmacovigilance, it is, you'll have to know about what are the good pharmacovigilance practices, GVP modules. Then what are the different guidelines? What is CEDESCO guideline? What are the good clinical practices? So you should have a good guideline knowledge. Then basically you should know what is the process involved in pharmacovigilance, and so again, it is a timeline bound industry. So you'll get so many cases. So I will tell you basically how the pharmacovigilance works. So you will get a source document where you will get, for example, you're working for a US client. So a patient who has taken this particular pill in US would have experienced such an event. Maybe he has experienced pain. Okay, so he will send a source document wherein all the information will be mentioned, like what is the demographic details, what the patient experienced, and did they hospitalize after that, and all these information will be there. So now your responsibility is to analyze whether it is a serious case, if it's a non-serious case. So for that you have a set of protocol, for set of things that you have to follow, so based on which you will come to a conclusion that yes, this is a serious case or this is a non-serious case. So again, serious case and non-serious cases will have different timelines to submit to the regulatory authority. So it is again a time-bound, timeline-bound industry where you'll have to work under pressure. Again, time management skill is very much important. So if you think that you have a good time management skills, you have a good assessment skill, if you have a good guideline knowledge, you can place yourself in pharmacovigilance. And pharmacovigilance, trust me, clinical research and pharmacovigilance will have so many opportunities for Pharm.D people and other pharmacy graduates. Coming to medical coding, so medical coding is nothing but, with the word itself we can know, coding is nothing but you will assign some alphanumerical codes to some drugs or some process or some procedure. So I'll tell you, you have a patient data in the sense it can be in the form of a prescription. So you have a patient prescription, or you have his laboratory details, or you have any other information pertaining to the patient. So medical coding, medical coder, what is expected out of a medical coder is to convert these, things. I mean, all the, what do you call it as, all the information, the medical information, like the patient is having, some lump in, this part of the body. So when you have such a laboratory information, how will you, code it? So for that, you have a universal coding, book where all the codes will be mentioned. So you have to learn that first and then code the specific things in the form of an alphanumeric code. And this will be sent to the insurance company so that the company people will know what is, the patient is, or what is the information, the medical information you are trying to convey. So all these will be conveyed through a medical coding alphanumeric code, which is universal. So now you are helping the insurance company to know what exactly is the situation that patient had, or according to the information, what are the things, and then they can proceed further with the insurance, insurance related things. So now if you are a coder, or for you to start career in coding, you have a 6 months course in coding which you can do, and that is a certificate course which you can take. And for that you need to have a good in-depth knowledge about therapeutics, anatomy and physiology, because basically what you require is you have to identify and differentiate between what it is from the ground root level. Okay, anatomically how it is different, physiologically what it is. So all these things, if you have a good knowledge about anatomy and physiology, this is a very interesting place where you can work in, because you get to know, it is going to be a more challenging one. At the same time, it is going to be interesting. Day by day, you are going to get new type of cases, and you're going to, make codes. So you will be a certified coder by 6 months, and by, if you work for 1 year, you can be a coding trainer also, since you are certified. So medical writing, we have already discussed. These people are responsible for writing the clinical research, study details, everything. So now in the second phase, with all the skill sets, which is mentioned, you can place yourself in either of these segments. Then this is the pharmacovigilance workflow, which I have explained a little before. You get a case report. Then once every processing is done, there is a timeline of 6 months and 1 year where you aggregate report. Aggregate is nothing but collating reports of similar type. Then you send it. So what happens is, for example, for a drug, the indication of itching will be there in the label. But now after 1 year, after collating all the data, you have seen that few patients, few in the sense, a majority or maybe a 50% of the patient are complaining of pain. or any other adverse reaction. So what happens is that will lead to a signal detection. Like if you use this particular drug, majority of the people have experienced this particular event, so that will generate a new signal, that is going to be a new adverse reaction. So what the pharmacovigilance will do is, again, the regulatory bodies will ask the company who have marketed the product to have studies on this. And if they think that, yes, this is going to cause an additional adverse reaction with this particular signal detection, again, maybe after a few years, this is going to come as a labeled issue. If you take this, maybe you are going to have pain. Okay. So this is how it works. Just a second. Yeah. Then will be that next step will be risk management. So once you have a signal detection, we have to monitor all the adverse reactions, and then you will strategize ways to minimize or remove the adverse reaction from the patient. So this is how the pharmacovigilance works. Okay. In pharmacovigilance, you can join as a safety associate, and also company to company, the position name will change. In few companies it will be drug safety associate, it will be in few other, it will be drug safety scientist, but basically this is going to be a workflow. Okay. And if you're experienced enough, maybe if you work in case processing for 3 to 4 years, then you shift yourself to aggregate reporting. And aggregate reporting, compared to case processing, yes, it is a little more paid, and you are going to do a next level of reporting there. So these are the career aspects in terms of pharmacovigilance. Okay. Then drug approval and regulatory bodies. To end up in regulatory body, you need to know about all the aspect of clinical research, how the clinical research will happen. And in every segment, if you see, regulatory bodies are involved. So regulatory body will take care of the safety of the drug. So anytime a person is taking a drug, okay, the company or the organization is responsible to report its safety to the regulatory body. And again, the regulatory bodies will have some guidelines, will have some timelines um, when they have to report. So this for US, if you see, it is US FDA. For India, if you see, it will be DCGI. And also in pharmacovigilance, one thing which I wanted to tell is there is something called PVPI, that is Pharmacovigilance Program of India. So that is taken care by Indian Pharmacopeal Commission. So these people are the government is appointing pharmacovigilance associates through a test which is conducted, I don't know, I think it's conducted biannually. And you have to write an exam, and posts will be across India. So you'll have vacancies of maybe 15 to 20 posts you'll have in every exam. And you can place yourself in big hospitals where you can work as a pharmacovigilance associate, and you will be responsive for taking care of all the adverse reactions reported in that particular hospital or in that particular site. So there is one called PVPI, Program of India. So that is under the central government. So just for information, other than private and multinational companies, you have something in government also. Okay. So then the regulatory bodies, you have safety of the product, regulatory guidelines, and regulatory affairs. So this is again the one more area where you can work in. So after all the regulatory body, after you get the drug approval, the next phase is drug will be in the market, because now the regulatory bodies know that your drug is safe for human use. So now it is coming to the market. Now the companies will have a marketing team which will work on the marketing strategies. Okay, they will have a new strategy as to how to market this drug, or which are the segments or which are the areas where we need to place this drug. Okay. For that, you will have a marketing team. So for regulatory, the skills that you require is in-depth knowledge of guideline, insights on pharmacovigilance, and how the clinical research, basically how the research works. Then yes, time management is mandatory. Then you should be handling work pressure. So when it is regulatory body, you will have all the information coming from various companies, from various CROs, everything. So when it comes, you will be working in work pressure, but since it is time management and work pressure, this will go hand in hand, and you have to meet deadlines. Okay. Yeah. So in post-approval or marketing surveillance, now you can place the marketing surveillance team, marketing and sales. So marketing team will strategize as to how will you go further with placing the brand, and then there will be a sales team who will be working. They'll be the ground workforce. So they will go meet each clinicians, and then they will tell this is the particular brand which I'm promoting, and this is the, maybe they'll tell the generic, and this is how it works. And anyways, the clinician will be knowing, what are the generic or what are the company products. So next you will be telling them these are the benefits, or maybe a sales team can also tell compared to this particular drug in the same class how it is better compared to the other drugs. So this is how you have to sell. This is a person who is good with selling things. Basically, you need to have selling skills to end up doing sales. So marketing, if you see, you need to analyze so many data. You need to know the market, okay, where the market stands and market share and everything. So all these analytic things will come in marketing. You will have to innovate. You'll have to think new strategies as to how will you place your drug, or how will you capture the market, or how will you have a growth, maybe in the next 5 years, how will you grow more. So all these strategies, all the market branding, or effective ways of marketing, basically. So that skill set you need to have. And of course, yes, you need to have a communication skill, and possibly MBA if you have, it is well and good in marketing, especially for people who have done Pharm.D. If you do a pharma MBA or MBA in marketing, you can place yourself easily. So you can have a position like marketing manager. So you can directly have marketing manager position if you have this MBA degree. Okay, so time up. I'll just close soon. So I'll just briefly tell you about MSL role. So MSL role is nothing but medical science liaison. Will be something, they are not responsible for the sales, but these people will be, they'll be licensing between the medical team, that is the company, medical team, and the company, that is this clinician and the company. So these people will be responsible for showing all the results that we have obtained in the clinical research. So in the clinical research, we have had so many data comparing so many drugs. So many research will be like comparing two molecules. So you compare two molecules, you present the safety data. So MSL is the place where you can place Pharm.D people. Pharm.D people will have good drug knowledge, so they'll be the right people to work as an MSL. So mostly MSL position will be shared between MBBS people or MD or a Pharm.D people. So basically you have to compare between other drugs. So you should be medically qualified enough, or you have to have a good experience working with the sales team, or you have to have a good knowledge about the drug, its pharmacology and how it works, and what are the benefits, what are the features that the product is going to give. So basically, if you have all those skills, and if you can interpret all the data out of the clinical research that you've got, you can place yourself as an MSL. So I am right now working as a therapy lead, which is 90% or 85% you can say I'm working as MSL, but 80 to 90% I work in the field, that is with the sales team. So basically it's like an MSL person. You expect things like an MSL, but you have to work with the sales team. You have to directly interact with so many doctors, and then you have to tell this product, this is my product and this is how it is benefiting. And basically you need to relate with everything in the market, with other company products and all that. So I think this is something that everybody can look for if you possess these skills. Okay, and you should be good at networking. You should be good at making new relationship with the doctors, and you should be basically good with public relations. Okay, so that's all. So if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Bharat. It's been nice hearing you. Proud of you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, just one basic thing. What are the skill sets that are required to be a therapeutic lead? What would you suggest?
Yes, so basically, therapy lead, what I am working, I told you, like I work like an MSL. So what basically the company requires from you is like I work in diabetes portfolio. So diabetes, when I work in diabetes division or cardiovascular risk management division, what they expect from out of me will be like what is your drug knowledge or what is your knowledge about diabetes. So you need to know everything about diabetes. Then you need to know what are the research happening in diabetes, what are the drugs marketed in the diabetes, and what are the other classes of drugs which are marketed, and what are your competitor brands. And then you need to know about your own molecule. For example, if I am working for Bayer, I work with acarbose. So acarbose is an alpha glucosidase inhibitor. Maybe I'll have to know about the competitor brand like voglibose. So what is voglibose, what is acarbose, what is the difference? Many people think that these two drugs are of the same place, maybe they will have the same mechanism of action, but from the structure to the mechanism of action to the benefits that they give or to the pleiotropic benefits, everything is different if you compare these two drugs. So basically you are supposed to be that product specialist who will be able to answer anything that the clinician asks you. And it is not, you're not going to talk to a normal person, or you are going to deal with doctors, and it will be like top endos or top diabetos. So when you interact with those people, the company expects you to be competent enough so that you answer even their queries. Okay, you are going to, it's like you are going to present your molecule to them. So this generic is not new to them, but the way you compare with other molecules, the way you relate with your disease, basically the way you place your brand, that is more important. And basically the skill that you require is you have to have a public relation. You need to have a good relation with the doctor. The better relation that you have, better reach you have to the customer. So that is basic that requires. And what I suggest is never think that any job is I'm overqualified for this job. No, if you think you are overqualified, you think in a different way. Yes, I'm overqualified, I will be the best in class. If you are overqualified, you will be best in the class. So even if you start your career as a medical representative, if you are the best medical representative, trust me, in 2 to 3 years you will be the manager, or maybe post which you can end up doing MSL. If you do not have a direct entry as an MSL, you can start from a medical representative, be the best medical representative. Okay, be the best person who can convey things to the doctor, and you can again you can open some employment option for yourself and for others also. So there, right now, if you see, there is no post for a Pharm.D in like as a therapy lead or as an MSL. We want Pharm.D. No, there is nothing like that. You have to create your options basically. So it is how how good you are with your knowledge and how good you are with your skills. That is how you open up things or open up a new job opportunity in multinational company. So you have to make them realize that yes, we are competent enough, or we can do little more in this. So that is how you open up new positions. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Bharat. It was so nice of you to share your valuable words. And I think we will have a bigger session with you so that our students will be benefited from your talk, because you are just they're seniors, so they'll be able to relate with you much more better. So once again,
Yes,
thank
right.
you, Bharat. It's been nice having you. Proud of you. Right? Okay.
Yes.
Then do convey my regards to Radhika. Right?
Yes, and
Okay.
one special mention to Shintu also, Shintu and Saumya Chechi and Sangeetan for
Okay.
considering me for this. Yeah,
Sure, sure,
thank you
sure,
so
sure.
much.
So thank you very much, Bharat. It's been nice
Yes.
having you. Okay, so now we have come to the end of the seminar. I'm sure all of you must have found this to be immensely beneficial. All the credit to the speakers. So on behalf of the college, all participants, and on my own behalf, I thank all the esteemed speakers for sharing their valuable thoughts and valuable time with us. So once again, thanks to the speakers. Now, without the support and encouragement of our director, Carla Sister, and principal, Daisy Sister, this event wouldn't have happened. So once again, thanks to Carla Sister and Daisy Sister for making this event happen. Sibi Sir is the mastermind behind this. So thank you, Sibi Sir. You worked very hard to make this happen. And then Vinod Sir, Manju Ma'am, thank you for doing the introduction of our speakers. And special thanks to Bobby Sir and Diploman Sir, because they were there both on and off the screen. So a big thanks to both of them. And then I would like to express my sincere thanks both to the teaching and non-teaching staff for their contribution, especially Tinu, who has run around for getting things done. And then all participants, of course, you were the people who actually deserve to be thanked for being really a lovely and attentive audience. And we hope that you have benefited from attending this talk. And one more last thanks, Jenny ma'am and your co-moderator, they're very good, right? Okay, thank you. God bless. Good night. This is Naveen Kumar signing off from St. Joseph College of Pharmacy. Good night. Bye.